How shall we start this?
Do we not start every podcast with like, hi, I'm Helen Tudor and this is the Ideal Client Attraction Podcast, or not? You can have that. Done. Rocking and rolling, let's go.
We're back.
We are back.
Number 3. Episode number 3, as we were going to call it, where strategy meets spirituality.
Yes.
That is the premise of this episode. And I've got down here the key points that we're looking to cover is the importance of balancing logic, aka strategy, and intuition, aka spirituality. Defining the above and below principles, the above and below principles, and also what balance. I beg your pardon. Why balance is key to attracting clients. So let's dive in.
I think we've covered a bit of this, obviously, in the first couple of episodes, but this is something that I need practice on talking about. I've realised, because it's very new to me as a concept.
Just line your mic up. That's it. Smashing. Yeah.
Still a bit high.
Yeah. Drop it down a bit.
So I was saying that this is really important for me to get better at articulating. So if this is the first time you heard me talk about it, apologies. I'm working on it. And you'll probably see me talking in, 2 years' time and be like, wow, she's really nailed it now. But at the moment, it's still, a concept that we drew out on a whiteboard like 2 months ago. So it's new, it's fresh, but that makes it quite exciting because...
It's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my baby. And it's been born out of decades of marketing experience, but just bringing the two things together, not even like that, like from top to bottom, really was a breakthrough moment when I was planning out my book. And I had like a book strategy day and we were planning it all out and I was talking about these concepts. And when we created it as an image, suddenly it all pulled together. And the image is very much around, there's these 3 elements. So there's yourself, so it's your alignment with yourself, which is an inner ring, if you like.
Yeah.
And around that, it's alignment with your ideal client. Yeah. And then around that, it's alignment with your offer. So yourself, your client, your offer, the 3 main principles that I believe that we need to be aligned on all 3 to make a business work in a way that feels good.
I think the offer aspect is one I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Like, it's really new. I'll follow your stuff, obviously, and pay attention to it. I saw the shift. I know when you went to see Joe, to, book and everything. And so hearing you explain it now, but the real big one for me was the offer. And as much as, I'm reading your stuff to pay attention to it and tune in for this type of stuff, but also I'm doing the work at the same time. I'm working it. I'm like, oh, and it's that part stopped me in my tracks.
Because people think of themselves as entrepreneurs with a business.
Yep.
But what we actually are is randoms on the internet with an offer to the client.
Sadly, in our DMs, true randoms.
People don't think, wow, here's Mark, a fully formed human, husband, father, all of your experience. Like, they don't look at you like that. They just think like, what has he got to sell me?
Yep.
And is that something that I need right now? The other stuff is great and will come in time. Yeah. But the initial thing is the offer, because the alignment with the offer is the thing that you're selling. And if you're aligned with it and you can sell loads of it, then your business is flying, really. But the 3 things definitely come together. And this all comes out of the ideal client work that I do. Yeah. So,
and by the way, we are going to do an episode on the alignment with offer.
Yes, we are. We're going to go through all of these 3 in more depth. But if you were to visualize the image, this is what we've got: self, client, offer, 3 rings. And then around that, there's a line that goes across right through the middle of those 3 rings. Right. And there's a line that goes through the middle.
Okay.
Right through the middle.
Like a cross.
Like a cross.
Yeah.
Like a target.
Like a bullseye,
Like a bullseye. And what I realized is that above the line is all the things that you can see, the tangible, the measurable, the strategic.
The logic.
The masculine. The light, the like. It's the bit that you can put your hand on and say, this is real.
I was going to say that, the real world stuff.
It's the real world, It's the undeniable.
Yeah.
If you got £1 million in the bank.
There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we could talk about money being an energetic concept, but it's tangible. You did a launch, you sold 100 things at £1,000. This is good, right?
And people are used to this. There's plenty of people out there marketing this type of stuff, how to get more of this and more cash.
Yeah, when I say do 3 things a day on LinkedIn, if you haven't done those things, you haven't done those things. Yep. There's no nuance.
It's tangible.
You did it or not.
Well, like you said in the last episode, I could bloody see it.
I can see whether you did it or not, yeah. Did you post on social media today? Yes or no? Did you put your offer out today? Yes or no?
Yeah.
But that's above the line, right? Below the line is the reasons why you may or may not have done the things. Yeah. So the left and the right is negative to positive as well. So above the line, we've got negative things that are happening in the real world.
Yeah.
So it might be that you haven't got any money, you hate all your clients, or not, that's actually below the line, but your clients don't show up on time, or your clients don't pay you, or you're not getting the results that you want to get. So it's above the line, it's measurable, it's tangible, but it's negative. Above the line and positive is good stuff. You're doing your things are working, your data's showing improvements, and it's all good, right? So you can plot on this graph, basically.
So it's
the
not
good
just
stuff.
Some blue sky positive.
Yeah, it's good. We did a launch, we made a load of money, and this is how we did it, because it's the real thing. We sent this many emails, we sent this much, we spent this much on ads, we got the data,
And conversely, if you didn't, is the negative side.
Yeah, so you've got negative and positive in the real world, for sure. And I think the black and white thinking is that's the business. Yeah. And that's basically where I probably thought a lot about, really.
Well, that's where you did work.
That's what I made my money, is teaching people the tangible, know, and the measurable and the practical and the doing the things. Yeah. It's the real world. It's the put your hand on the floor, you're on the real world. Yeah. But below the line is it's the intangible. It's the stuff you can't see. It's the stuff that you feel. It's the stuff that you can't explain. It's energetics. It's, it's your gut feeling. It's your, the way things make you feel and your emotions. And it's all it's the feminine side. It's the softer side. It's non-measurable, it's intangible, it's quite hard to describe a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's not an ROI hanging
there's
around.
There's no ROI underneath the line. Yeah, so but there's also a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive, I should say. Yeah. So the negative is when you feel sad and burnt out and tired and you're not valued and all that kind of stuff,
not
right?
Not worthy, good enough.
And you just don't feel good, and your instincts feel it's not the right thing, but it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
The right-hand side is the positive of the intangible, if that makes sense. So these are things like the feeling amazing, feeling like you're on the right path, the joy, the enlightenment, the vibrational improvements, the feeling of excitement and even things like peace and contentment, they're all on the right-hand side, because they're an intangible, but they're definitely a positive. And I think the reason why it's below is because that the unseen supports the seen. And also the seen impacts the unseen. And I think there's obviously a direct correlation. And these circles, if you like, this
almost like the yin and yang.
It's the yin and the yang. Yeah, exactly. It's the duality of it. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. And they impact each other simultaneously. So it's kind of, again, I didn't know this would be the theme of the podcast, but it's about awareness, isn't it? It's about actually self-awareness and self-examination. And if you were to plot your business, because that's what we're talking about, on this map, if you like, of how you're feeling, how your business is performing, how that makes you feel, and that kind of stuff, And when I work with clients, it's always, my second question is always, how does that make you feel? Yeah. Yeah. So it might be this is happening, yes. Yeah. And how does that make you feel?
So what? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Because your feelings really can influence and dictate your activity. And although I say we don't allow it, what I mean by that is we have to fight against it. It's a lot easier. So when we talk about alignment, and we talk about flow, and we talk about being in our zone of genius, and we talk about manifesting and things just happening, and it feels like everything's just on the right path, that's when everything's shifting to the right. Yeah. Things are good, it feels good, and things are good, and it feels good. It's almost like it becomes a spiral up of good things. And I think the same is true the other way. the things are bad, makes you feel bad. You feel bad, things are bad. You feel bad, you don't do the things you need to do to move things over to the right-hand side. So everything just gets worse and worse on the plot, on the graph, if you like. And I think the awareness is you're going to have a bit of this. And this is another thing about this work that I'm doing now, is that it's okay that your graph is all over the place. It's okay that you've got good and bad things happening, and you've got good and bad days and good and bad feelings, because that's life.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that is life, and that's normal, you know.
Even when you do this work, that's not going to stop. There's going to be elements of that.
But the awareness is there. And when we have awareness, that's when we can take action.
Yes.
And whether that means something as simple as what we were talking about in the last episode, which is something bad happens to me and I then go and post about it on social media because I feel bad and I want validation. I want people to be like, oh, that was really bad. And then people see that and then they're like, oh, she's feeling bad. I'm feeling bad. I'm going to reach out and see if she wants to work together. And then you're like, oh no, I feel good now. And I'm left with this client who's like in the drama, you know? So things like being aware of it, of like, right, this thing has happened, which is very much in my bottom left quadrant, if you like. I mean, give me a PhD, right? I'm talking about quadrants, right? But like, if it's deep in your bottom left quadrant and your top right quadrant, right? So let's say a client emails you and says, your course is a load of shit. I want all my money back. Yeah. Which does happen. It's part of business, right? Don't happen very often, but it does happen. And again, it's not about you, it's about them. And that's again, one of the themes of the podcast is it's not you, it's them. Yeah. So the client comes and says, this is terrible, rubbish. And you're going to go on social media and tell everyone how crap you are, right? Usually because they're in a bad place and they've bought it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, sometimes people's courses probably are crap. But anyway, so that happens but instantly, that's a top left thing, yeah? Client refund request, yeah? But it triggers off a bottom left thing.
You're right, got you.
Yeah. So if anyone who has a personal brand, it's personal.
Yeah.
If someone says you're shit, you feel it. It's like
feel it,
an arrow in the heart.
I'm shit.
People seem to think that I am not affected by that stuff. I'm so affected by that. I have to pay people to protect me from that. Yeah. You know, because it does upset me on a deep cellular level. You know, I've sat on my bed and cried over mean people in my business more than I've sat about heartbreak in my relationships. Just me, because I've had a lot more people be mean to me in my business. You know, so if someone doesn't value me or value my work, I feel it, right? On a deep level, you know, but it's tipped something that's really top left into something that's bottom left.
And what you're saying here is this is about becoming aware of this, isn't it? There's the fundamentals here is because what we're discussing here is where strategy meets spirituality. Yeah, and I think by stressing that where strategy meets, I think it's fair to say, I don't know actually if it's fair to say. I mean, I don't know what the stats are. I'm guessing, but I reckon you could probably make a good argument that more people are strategic than spiritual in business. Because it's
men.
Quote unquote, yes, particularly men and any masculine females who are, you know, quite forward progressive, showing masculine traits. Yeah. But business primarily, you wouldn't necessarily stereotypically, I would say, associate the word spirituality with your business or this deeper alignment, whichever terminology you want to use. But you absolutely would say, oh yeah, strategy. You know, it's a business. It's got a strategy. You know, like those seem linked.
But as a business owner, you've got a soul and you feel it.
Well, yeah. And then so what I love here about this and the quadrant, the grid, the bullseye, the target, as you've eloquently described it, is where it meets itself, where strategy meets spirituality. And I guess to just tie that all together it's the awareness of it as well. Like, hey, which quadrant am I
operating in today?
So if somebody else said, hey, your stuff's crap, and it's like, oh, I'm crap now. You know, if that's the voice in your head. So
the thing is, it's great. Awareness is step one, but then it's what do we do?
Exactly.
So what I would say is, because you've got the awareness and you say, right, someone's asked for a refund, it's made me feel this kind of way. The awareness is step one, which is where my community really comes into its own. Because people can post and be like, I'm in the bottom left. I'm like so in my bottom left quadrant right now because I've just done it. And people can be supportive and everything, but it's not a public thing, you know? It's a private thing.
And they all share the same language.
You can feel it. And you can share it with somebody without, you know, causing an above the line problem.
And I would imagine in your community as well, because of the people they've already seen someone go through that and do that, so it's safe and they can now express themselves. That's lovely, by the way.
It's really important because you want to feel they got a safe space to talk about this stuff, right? And the thing is, then it's like, well, how can I if spirituality meets strategy, so if you think you've got your under the line, you've got the over line, and it's all supporting, those are equal circles, right? And they meet each other like magnets, right? So like if I'm in my bottom left though, and I'm feeling a certain kind of way, how can I move myself to the bottom right by making this top left thing not about me on a soul level? Like, because I've got that awareness now, what do I need to do to move myself into a place where I feel in a better place before I do anything else above the line?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
So how can I move myself across from bottom left to bottom right?
So just to pause there, it's not about going to the above the line and changing the client and doing a different funnel or whatever you might do in your business. What you're saying here is if this is right, is it's what you do underneath the line. Yeah, got you.
Because that's what's supporting above the line.
So shut up, Mark. So what is that then? How do you do that? So
this is about changing your emotional state. So this is where the practice comes in. So spending time with yourself and checking in with yourself, your alignment to your soul, to yourself, to your client, to your offer. But it really where the ideal client work comes into its own here is connecting in with your ideal client. And realizing that this person above the line is not them. And that's okay. And no hate to the above the line client, because I think there's no such thing as a terrible client for everyone, just a terrible client for you.
I want to stress that. So I think it's okay. Yeah. If someone doesn't align, it's not the end of the bloody world.
And it is just business. It's proper business. It's top left stuff. It happens, But it's how do we not make it mean something about us? So we do that by connecting with
ourselves in the process. Yeah.
Like you say, or going above the line and start doing stuff like bad mouthing them on social media or whatever it might be, like just reactive stuff because you're in that painful.
So you're saying stay underneath the line and try and figure out how to move. Yeah.
How can you move yourself? So there's a few ways you can do this. So one is the connection and connecting with your ideal client and reminding yourself it's about them. Yeah. Your business is about your ideal client, not about you. That is the takeaway, right? So just as an example, when I was feeling awful this morning and not wanting to come and do the podcast because I'm so ill and all the rest of it, I was like, well, it's not about how I feel. It's about my ideal client, right? And when I connected in with my ideal client this morning, they were like, I can't wait to hear what you got to say. Right. Yeah, I'm going to be your biggest fan. I'm going to be like, tell the world about it. I'm going to get so much out of it. So then my energy shifts. Yeah. And it's not about me, it's about them.
Well, paradoxically,
so it moves me across the line.
So paradoxically for me, coming in this morning, I'm like, I can't wait for today because you very much tick a lot of the boxes of one of my ideal clients, so to speak. So, but both work.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're changing our, exactly. The situation is nothing's changed in the situation. Yeah. And this is something that's very powerful for you to witness when you get this self-awareness, is that if you can change your state from bottom left to bottom right, there's a few ways you can do it, right? You've got your connection. You've also got nature. You've got things that you do that make you laugh and make you love, like maybe go and stroke your pet, go outside for 5 minutes, go and look at a tree, look at people that are more like less fortunate than you.
It's a million ways. It's whatever floats your boat.
Put a song on that makes you feel amazing, right? Whatever you can do to change your state and move yourself into a state of feeling good despite what's happening over the line.
Right.
Before you then do your next move. So no sudden movements when you're in an emotion. Yeah. No, I always say like never make a permanent decision in a temporary emotion. Because if you are triggered, which is basically what we're talking about, I guess.
Hang on, say that again, because that's a good point. Never what?
Never make a permanent decision in a temporary emotion.
Good.
Because and I know you say, do and be things.
Knee jerk.
Yeah, it's knee jerk. It's triggered. And I used to be very, very trigger happy. And I look back at some of those arguments I've had online, and it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. I'm like,
we've all done it.
Because when I was when someone says, oh, I don't believe what you're saying about LinkedIn or whatever, and I'd be like, well, you don't have to believe me, but I've got, I've made 3 million quid and I've got 2,000 clients. Just being a dickhead. Like, I don't need to say that. Just ignore that guy. Like, I'm not going to convince him. So why bother?
Yeah, you're not going to win that argument.
No. But I just couldn't resist it. Couldn't help myself. Because I was very masculine, right? And I was like, very much got to prove myself. So I'd have this argument. But then I'd be with my children. But I wasn't with my children. Because I'd be thinking,
you're still there.
I'm thinking, hurry up and eat your chicken nuggets.
So I can reply to this
get
dickhead.
Back and see what that dickhead said. Because I feel like my answer was great. And I hope he's got, and he'll come back with something. And that is not what I want for myself.
You're being robbed of life when you do that, you know.
Yeah, and your adrenals are up, you're just anxious, you take it out on the people around you. So it's, I mean, we could do a whole episode on online
listen,
stuff.
If you've worked online for longer than 5 minutes, that's happened. I mean, it can be a shit show, can't it? Let's call it what it is. It happened
to me the other night. Yeah. I was like, I just put on a throwaway comment and obviously triggered a couple of people. And then they come back with this and I just put perfect. I thought, I'm not there for it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there for it anymore because it's just not my vibe. Because I know the consequences of my below the line by me doing things above the line in temporary emotions. Yeah. So I think it's almost like trying to, I could say, don't make above the line mean anything below the line, but it does. There's no way of me denying that. Yeah, you can say it doesn't, and I don't believe you. Like, you are affected by it.
But it's how you then frame it and then what you do. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and also the other thing is, rather than always thinking, I'm on my left-hand side, I need to move to my right, whether it's strategically or spiritually, right? Because if you've got a strategic problem on the left, you've got to fix it. Yeah. And then it is like masculine, like strategy, data, what do we need to do to fix it? So yeah, we're going to be moving to the right.
So on that, quick question then on that. Let's say that was a problem. So let's say there is a part of your course that is shit, whatever, and someone's, going billy-o about it. Hey, this is fucked up, the link's broken, whatever. Whatever it is, don't matter. But if it is, do you then come below the line first, double check that you're aligned, become aware that, hey, where am I if I do go strategically fix this?
Yeah.
Even though it's a positive thing. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, when someone's saying, Helen, you're a cowbag, this is shit.
You're too northern.
Yeah. Do you know
Can't
what I mean?
do anything about that.
Fuck you, all that sort of stuff. If that's happening, I mean, that's going to put you in the bottom negative, isn't it? And then you're going like, well, if I'm in the bottom negative, I'm going to shift across to my positive below the line, and then I'm going to come back into that world and do what's necessary to fix that. But what if it's like, hey, Helen, like, I like your shit, but this is unacceptable. Your link's broken or whatever.
Which puts you straight in the bottom left. But if you can get yourself to the bottom right, you might see it from a different angle.
But what I'm asking is
it's a bit shit.
Before you go do strategic stuff to fix things, do you double check first about where am I below the line first? Do you do that?
Yeah, because this is where the connection comes in, though. Because if someone says to me...
This is why I'm asking,
Yeah, so if someone says to me, like, I get this quite a bit, like, I don't like the way you're delivering something, right? I don't like it. It doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
And then I connect in with myself, my offer.
First. Yep.
And the offer, which is what they're complaining about.
Yep.
And the ideal client. And I'm like, if I change the way I did this thing, that would put me out of alignment with who I am and what I want to do. So I'm not going to change my alignment for this one person.
And what's your ideal client's name again? Was it
Emily?
And then if you did that, Emily will never hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So it's kind of like...
There's a consequence to it, isn't there?
My priority is myself, though.
Yeah.
I only run my business in the way that feels good to me.
Yeah.
So, for example, a good example of this is speaking on stage. So last year, I didn't decide. I was getting asked more and more to go and do more public speaking. I mentioned last episode, I dropped out of uni because I had to do presentations, right? I had crippling anxiety and panic attacks when I was younger. I was in the Priory when I was 17. Right. So like I was standing up and talking in front of people is my nemesis, yeah.
Well, you're not alone for loads of people like that.
But I've got a message to share and I know it's good for business, right? So if you're thinking about writing down something, you're like, well, I know the risk is worth the reward here. Yeah, so I'm going to do, every time I get asked to do it, I'm going to say yes. And I said yes to everything. And I went all over the country. I've been all over the world, actually. But last year particularly, I went all over the country and I did all these speaking engagements, culminating in EMC, which is massive. It's like 50,000 people or something. Massive thing in Brighton.
Right.
And every single time I hated it more and more and more. Right. It didn't get easier. It didn't get better. It didn't get more fun. I didn't expose myself and then enjoy it.
Right.
And I've had all the therapy and the counselling and the speaking coaching. So please don't pitch me with your DMs. I've done all that and I've had all the
Hi, Helen.
Yeah, and I've done all that. And I just thought, I fundamentally don't enjoy it. I'm good at it and I can do it and it's great for business.
But in the joy aspect of it, it's just fucking devoid.
It just made me so anxious. I lay in bed the other day and I thought, I just feel so good knowing I've got no speaking gigs coming up. Because my whole year, I was just like, right, I've done that one and that went well and I've made some money, but oh my God, in March, I've got to do this one. And April, I've got to do this one. And I was just like, but you know what I love? Speaking online.
Yeah.
Put me in front of 1 million people. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm buzzing. I enjoy it. I love the impact. Yeah. I love the fact I can turn my computer off and I'm on the ceiling. I'm so high from it. I'm just really loving it. And I can't wait to see the reactions and stuff like that. I love it.
What's the personal, so just pause in there, but what is the personal difference for you there then? What is it about those two that spark you a bit differently?
Well, one terrifies me and one gives me no fear.
Right.
So one makes me feel
But do you know
uncomfortable.
why? Do you know what that is? Or
Well, because I've got a fear of fainting, which I've had since I was 11.
Right.
So if I faint on a Zoom call,
So what?
it's not that big a deal. If I faint on stage in front of 1,000 people, again, it's not that big a deal. And again, please don't DM me with your hypnotherapy and all that. So I've done it. So it's just that anxiety.
7 steps. And
the anxiety, the run up to it is just not worth it. Even with all the work I've done and the hypnotherapy I've done, everything.
Yeah.
So I just made a choice.
So is the run up to Zoom different?
Don't think about it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'll still be in a towel with wet hair 5 minutes before.
So there's patterns.
Yeah, so I enjoy it and I just love it and I'm great at it and it's good for business. So for me, I've got to look at my above and below the line there. So below the line is all on the left-hand side when I'm speaking on stage. It makes me feel horrible.
Yeah.
Not when I've done it and it's great and I get that buzz and everyone loves it and tells me how great I am, that bit's fine. But it's it's not worth it for me. So I just made that decision to do that. And then everything becomes a lot easier.
But also you'll triple down on the things you love and you'll get the leverage from that.
Yeah,
the benefits,
exactly. So it's kind of thinking about stopping public speaking. I'm not saying never say never, but not having that stress or that anxiety or that thing that I'm worrying about has meant that my below the line is all on the right. I feel good all the time. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm not anxious about anything.
Would you say there's a middle ground for you?
Which supports the strategy, making me feel happier and more positive and attracting better clients.
As you move across the bullseye and the quadrant then, you did some events last year at home, right?
Yeah.
And you had the kitchen table type affair with maybe half a dozen.
5 people,
5 people each
9
time.
days, fantastic they were.
Are those a middle ground then? Those are a bit some good bits of Zoom. You're not having to stand on a stage so it's not that I don't like in-person stuff. I love it. Put me in a room with say 5 people is magic. Intimate.
It's the best version of me.
Yeah,
you know, it's better than being me on Zoom because it's in the room and it's the energy.
The impact,
and I'm relaxed. So I run them in my house. We sit on the sofas. We've got blankets. Got the cats. It's all on my terms. We eat the food. We get the food from the nice deli.
I've done it. It's
great.
Yeah,
it's just it's chilled, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is the dream. So why would I do things that aren't the dream? Yeah. Just because someone tells me that's what I should be doing.
You must do it.
So I think there's a thing here of no matter what the next guy, girl, mentor, guru says is the big thing, if it really doesn't feel aligned with you, you don't have to do it.
I think
permission to not do it and find a different way to get the same result without the under the line stress.
This is missing, isn't it, out there? You don't hear much of this. Not many people are talking about this stuff.
No, because people just look at me. Honestly, I know I will get DMs about this.
Yeah.
And it'll be I'm a speaking coach and I can help you with this. I'll get DMs from this.
Yeah, you mean let me pry my shit to you.
Yeah, I'm very nice to people in the DMs as a rule. But if you DM me after me saying, do not DM me about this, I will not be very nice to you in the DMs.
Like a woman's gone.
But it's people will see this and be like, oh no, I can fix you. Because I'm a speaking coach and that's my thing. And I can get you on stages and, you're going to bring a book out. You're going to have to get on stages and all the rest of it. And it's well, actually, maybe I don't. Maybe I can be a best-selling author without getting on a stage. Maybe I can just run Zooms. Maybe I can just have intimate events at my house. Maybe we get to choose how we want to run our businesses.
I think it would piss me off as well if they'd listen to this whole podcast because you've clearly said I'm not fucking interested.
Well,
do you know
honestly, people look at me as if I'm mad because everyone wants to speak on stages.
Yeah.
And I'm I don't want to speak on stages. I've done it. I did it because I wanted to prove to myself I didn't want to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was let's see if I can do it, if I can desensitize myself. And I just realized it made me a horrible person.
Almost like a morbid curiosity in what is this like, Well,
I thought I used to get nervous speaking online and now I'm really confident. So I thought maybe it would get better. but it just got worse.
Got worse, yeah.
Well, not worse. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I just didn't enjoy it. So, but whereas my daughter, she's 19, she did her first couple of speaking gigs,
that.
loves it.
Yeah,
so
it's
great.
great.
I can go and support her. It's fine. And it's great for her.
What a trip.
What a trip.
What an absolute, like at that age, I'm like, I thought the other day, I thought I was going to talk to you about this as well, because you're so prolific on social media. I was like, can you imagine social media when we were our kids' age?
Yeah, no.
I'm like, that would have been a bad idea. I'm only speaking from my personal perspective. I'm like, fucking hell, if you'd have given me a phone and the ability to film it, it had just been jackass all the time. I'm like, I'd probably be in prison before I'm 30. And I'm like, anyway, aside enough. But so there's an importance here, isn't there? This is the question I want to ask you, like stress for our audience. What did we call them earlier in episodes on our lovely listeners?
Our lovely listeners.
Or if you're watching.
Or subscribers if you subscribe.
Or subscribers, yeah. Smash that. Yeah.
Smash that.
Why is it, I've got written down here in my questions, why is it important to combine, and we know it's important, but I want you to just expand on the importance of this. But I think you could expand on this from an importance point of view from different parts of the quadrant. You could actually say it's important to combine strategy and spirituality, because if you're in this half of the bullseye, or this half of the above and below the line, this is why. Just like talk a bit about that from your perspective.
I think, looking at it from one to the other, and when I'm writing the book, each chapter's looking at it from above and below the line, because I think the two, it's the masculine, feminine, it's the yin and the yang, it's the back and the two. And I think it's important to have that definition, as well as understanding that the two support each other. Because if above the line, if you don't understand how the strategy is working or not working, you're not really got a business. Yeah. Like, it's as simple as that. You're winging it. So like, if you haven't got an awareness that I'm in the left-hand quadrant, like you're in trouble, right? Yeah. But also understanding what the right-hand quadrant looks like for you. So my right-hand quadrant of strategic success will look different to somebody else's.
Do you think a lot of people might argue, well, I know my sort of strategy and logic stuff above the line, but it's not differentiated into left and right now?
Yeah, they just think this is
all the same pot.
It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
But again, is this working? Is this doing what you want it to do? If not, what are you going to do to move it to the right hand side?
That's a better question, It's not about whether it's in there and it's in the right place. It's like, is it bloody working?
Yeah, some people might think, well, I make one sale a week from social media, so that's working for me. And someone else like me, be like, I'd expect to make more than that, because I've just got a different... So understanding what good looks like to you, what left looks like to you, and what right looks like to you, I suppose is the first step. And this is why this is so individual for people, because you can't overlay somebody else's bullseye onto someone else's. It doesn't work like that.
You covered this earlier. You said, I can't do these bits. I can facilitate, but they've got to define it, haven't they? So I think above the line, it's just about being really honest with yourself. And I think as being strategic for the last decade with people, this is a really missing link with a lot of people, especially women, who are looking at their business as as long as it's making some money, that's okay kind of vibe, or as long as I'm making enough money to just pay my bills or to replace my salary, then that's okay. Instead of actually going, this is what I really want, and this is what I need to do to get it, and this is how I'll know when it's working. It's fascinating, because I know a lot of women who were like, he's like, hey, write your numbers down. They're like, what?
That's how I started a conversation. How much money do you want to make? And people look at me like, what? I see that a lot. I see that a lot of people out of balance and brilliant, wonderful, amazing people doing fantastic work who are making no money because they've got no strategy. So I think, it's definitely a call to arms. If this is like speaking to you about, I feel like I'm below the line all the time in my feelings and in my emotions and doing things that feel good all the time, rather than some things above the line might not always feel good, but they still might work. And if they're working, they go on the right.
Do you spot these quite quickly then? They sort of stand out to you because you're thinking in this framework?
I think if you've not got a strategy, as in like a plan, you've not got a business really. And I think it's a shame, because there's a lot of great people out there. There's also a lot of terrible people out there who are really good above the line, but
soulless though.
Aren't great in delivery. But I think looking at how above the line is performing is a fundamental part of business. And let's not get that.
Yeah, be responsible.
You gotta step into your identity as an entrepreneur. You gotta own it a bit. Yeah.
I think this is more rife when they don't have a VA or a team. You know, they've got to pay for shit in the business, as it were. You know, if it's just solopreneur, the money that comes in goes straight into the household and they're living it. But like, all my world changed when I had to pay someone who I was responsible for making sure that their rent got paid. You know, you go, oh, I'll take this responsibly now. And I see that a lot. So back to my sort of question, it was along the lines of, you know, the importance of combining the two, really, you know. I
think under the line, if you're always in the left-hand side, you're just going to have a miserable life.
Yeah.
You're just going to feel like shit. And that's not great.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your business is doing. It doesn't matter whether it's doing great things above the line. If you don't feel good, you're not going to have a good time. I think that's as simple as that. So we've got to really focus on, I would much rather entrepreneurs were just always under the line on the right, no matter what was happening on the top, you know? It's because I think,
makes sense.
But I think also,
because you can
feeling
teach
good,
strategy, right?
Strategies, they all work.
Yeah.
But like, I think feeling good is the most underrated part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We don't have to feel bad while we're doing all the things and making all the money. We can make loads of money and feel great and have a good time and be a good person. We can have it all on the right hand side of the quadrant for sure.
I would argue then if someone came into your world and they were feeling shit, so they're and there's no strategy and they're feeling shit, they're, what is it, bottom right?
Bottom right, yeah. Top right, bottom right.
You could probably make bottom left. You could probably make the most progress with them just by making them feel good and then get to the strategy later.
Yeah, we start with the feelings, and that's what happens in the sessions is I get them to, we'll talk about this on the next episode, but I get them to really dial into who they are first. Forget the strategy. This is the theme. Just take a breath. Yeah. Forget the strategy. Forget above and below the line right now. Let's talk about you, the core in the middle. Let's start there. Who are you? What brings you to this moment? Like, who are you as a person? What are you here to do? What makes you feel good?
Yeah.
Like, when we start there, we can start to move.
That's the best work. It's the most, because you feel it.
It's the most important bit.
Yeah, it feels like anybody that's opposing this, I would say, like, why the fuck would you not want to do that? It feels great when you do it.
It's easy to change your mental, physical state with tools. If that makes sense. Strategic stuff takes time. You got to make things happen. You got to, but you can change your mental state. And I'm
like that.
Like that. Like I'm not saying people who've got mental illness I'm not a medical professional. Disclaimer. But you can change your physical and emotional state very quickly by reconnecting into what's already there.
Tony Robbins, the biggest frigging person at that, is he? It's like probably the one most known, and Jesus Christ, look, it feels bloody like Wembley, doesn't it, with this? And it's all about state change, isn't it? That's his fundamental principle.
But the thing is, I mean, whatever you feel about Tony Robbins, when you walk into one of those events or you log into one of those events, you will have your state changed, almost whether you want to or not. And that's part of the
just
problem.
By being there, the environment.
Some people, you know. But that's why it is easy to manipulate people and get people to do things, like, because you can change their state. But nothing has changed on a tangible above the line level than when you walked in.
Yeah, they've just been in a stadium for 3 days. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's actually changed outside. Except them. And that is the power of it. And that's what I'm saying about ideal client work, is when you change your state into somebody who is connected with this dream person, that can happen in milliseconds, but nothing's changed except the way you feel. But you change the way you feel, change the way you show up, change the way you show up, change what happens above the line.
So what I want to ask you is what about an example of this then? Because you've done this. You've done this yourself, obviously. But what I'm more interested in is I mean, you don't have to mention names, of course, if, you know, goes without saying. But what because you've posted a lot of transformational stuff recently online where I've seen people screenshots of, hey, here's a message. And I'm sure you've got permission for those. WhatsApp saying, hey, Helen, this is unbelievable. This is the shit. What's been a real highlight one for you recently that you can think of? That our lovely listeners, depending on what stage they're at, would go, that makes sense, because they'll see themselves through it.
Yeah, there's been so many. I can't even explain how good those
Could you pick
sessions
one?
are.
Could you pick
I'm
one?
just I'm flicking through them mentally because they've been so good.
2 hours later.
One particular one.
Go on.
I won't say too much about what she does because it's quite outing, if that makes sense. Because she's very well known.
Yeah, keep it vague.
And she dropped into my DMs, and I was like, oh, she's like a big player, and she's got a great business, and she's doing really well and everything. And one of the things, so I talked a lot about her and who she is and what she does and why she does what she does. And the one thing that she had, which we talked about earlier, was certainty. She was certain if people paid her this amount of money to join her program and they took the action in the program, she was certain she could transform that business's experience. She was very specific, very niche. It's only one type of client, but there's still thousands of them in the world. Tens of thousands in the world, thousands in the UK. And she was very well established. She was very well respected, but she charged, I think it was $3,000. And one of the things that she said was, it's $3,000 though. Are people going to pay this? She said, I know they do, but it's always that thing is, how can I scale it? How can I scale it? And when we talked about her client and we talked about where that client was at, this stuck at a plateau, couldn't break through this thing, didn't know what to do, wasn't sure. And then after, when the client had been told exactly what to do, step by step, to guarantee this huge shift in their life. And when we dialed into that client and how they felt after, so how they feel now, they're feeling really stuck and confused, and
I'm smiling because I know where this is going.
They're embarrassed, they're disappointed, they've spent all this money on this thing and they wanted it to be a success, but now it's not working, and they're embarrassed, and this feeling of shame, and we really dig into it, and what does their husband say about it, and what their clients, and they've stopped talking about it because they don't they don't want people to ask them how business is because it's been plateaued for the last 3 years. And she really dug into it because she knows her client, right? Then we talked about, okay, what's life like after? So she does the things. She gets all of this uplift in sales, which is guaranteed. How does this make her feel? Yeah. And the difference in my client, she was just like, oh my God, she's absolutely thrilled to bits. She's made up. She's just feels like on top of the world. Yeah. She feels really confident. She's loving her business again. She just loves every day. She gets
hypnotic, like a fantasy.
She just loves it, and she can't wait to tell people, and she's all over socials with it, and everyone's raving about her, and she feels like, and I said to her, what does she say about you? Oh, so she loves me. She thinks I'm the best thing ever because I've had this huge transformation for her, and she loves the program because of this, that, and the other. And I was like, and how does that make you feel? And she's like, well, that's great, isn't it? Because, it's going to it makes me feel amazing, and right? And we just riff on that for a little bit and just sit in that energy, and it's really high and hyper, and it's great. And I say, and do you think that's worth $3,000? And she's like, I think it's worth $30,000. And I'm like, well, exactly. But without really understanding the impact this has on the client, and really understanding this certainty that she's got and the power of that, she'd really lost herself in, well, I'm just this person who runs this program. Yep. And not really seeing that amazing transformation. Yeah. And I just remember we were just so buzzing off the call, and it was just great, it made me feel amazing, and it made her feel amazing, and I
was just going to say, I didn't want to cut you off there, but when she does that every day, even if she does a poor man's version of it each day, just in a practice that she does, that's got to change the things that are in the strategic side.
Well, I've shown her how you can change your emotional state just by getting into the energy of a happy ideal client who's got a result.
How long ago was that?
Couple of months.
And have you had feedback from her?
Yeah, she was just like, I said, she sent me, she's like, oh my God, it was amazing. I feel, I've got so much, I'm excited about my business again. I hear that a lot. It's like, I'm excited about my business. Basically, I see the value in my business again. I see, and what was really interesting with her as well is we got deep into something that I talk about privately, which is you only have so much bandwidth. Yeah. No matter what, you can only do so much, right? And she was talking about a business plateauing, and we were talking about the strategy, and the strategy was all nailed on. But I talked about how I always say, show me a P&L and I'll tell you a story. So like in my business, there's a couple of things that happen with my daughter, which I don't go into. I do privately with clients, but I don't talk publicly because it's her story. But there's a couple of things that happened with my daughter, which meant I had to be there for her. And when I say there for her, I mean I had to be there for her.
Yeah, physically.
Yeah, physically, basically.
Yeah.
So my business plateaued, and it did enough to make sure everyone got paid and everyone was okay.
Minimum effective dose, isn't it? Yeah.
And you can see that in my P&L, right? You can see that in my Stripe even, there's a real clear sort of plateau, and it's as soon as things were better again, things go up again. From the outside, people probably don't notice. And I told her that story and she was like, yeah, she said, wow, I was basically fighting for my marriage and everything's all right now. But there was a period where we just didn't know if we were going to stay together or whatever. And she was just like, wow, I've never even thought about the impact of that. And I was like, it's bandwidth though. There's only so much you can do. If you're something that's more important, like your life partner, your children are more important than your business, right?
Priorities. Yeah.
Priorities. That pulls your soul into a different space. So the strategy can carry on, but if your soul is elsewhere dealing with this and not supporting the strategy in the business, and you're not wholeheartedly in it, you're not and deep down, this is what I said to her, and what I said to myself was, I didn't want to scale because I wanted to keep things where I was because I could manage it.
Yeah.
I couldn't give it the focus that the business needed from a soul spiritual level because it was used elsewhere.
And that's a line for you, isn't it? It's like, if I can't do that, I'm not going to do it. And I guess we spoke about this when we were talking about strategy earlier, where it might have been in the last episode as well, where strategy will get you so far. Yeah. But also it can carry the boat for a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely can.
It's like, right, well, I don't have to be this like alignment and all singing, all dancing. It's like, you just have to have your stuff out there and it does its job. I mean, I've definitely had elements of that. I've definitely had elements where clients who know me really well have said, are you all right? Yeah. And I'm going like, well, the fuck, hang on, what? And it's like, and then they know. And these are usually quite skilled people, by the way. Yeah. They're used to doing maybe mindset or psychology type work. They're into that kind of game. But the point I wanted to come back to is sometimes I carried on. Business carried on. I just wasn't there. I didn't have much on socials, but I still made money. I still got clients. Things still worked.
Above the line still will carry you so far. Above the line
definitely still carry.
And I think content, which I know we're going to talk about in another episode, is a really strong example of this. Because I know if I'm putting out content just to keep things ticking over. You can tell from the outside looking.
You don't get the results.
You don't get the results. You get some results. You don't get the results. But when I'm completely in alignment and I'm doing my practice and I'm doing my work and I'm embodying my own work, then I get different results, and you can see it. You can feel it in the energy of the content. And I think it's a good example of that.
Would there be a case for this as well, where say you're super aligned, you could almost put out less content? Yeah. Because it has more impact. Yeah. Right?
Definitely.
There's more depth rather than we know people that post 500 times a day, and it's like they get fuck all. But someone who posts once a month and they fill the course out. And it's like, why? Because it's truly aligned, Those are the exceptions, but I think what we're talking about here is these middle grounds where you get both right.
And it's an energetic. If you put the energy in, you get the energy out. I think that's the thing is when you're aligned and you're feeling good and you below the line on the right, and you've got above the line on the right strategy, then everything becomes easier.
Yeah, it's flow.
Yeah, everything's easier. And I think the breakthroughs I've seen with clients is seeing that they can have it all. They can have a soul aligned business that strategically works for them.
I don't like that phrase I'm like, that bugs me, that phrase. Like in general, that phrase bugs me, but in this, it's contextually correct.
Yeah, I think you can have it all.
I
do. I think sometimes when I talk about this, say in a challenge, when people are new to me, they're pressed on a Facebook ad, they're almost like, this woman's insane. What do you mean? You can have loads of fun, make loads of money, every day's a great day. It's bullshit. But actually, I would say I embody my work and every day's a great day, apart from 10, 15%, where it's just external factors, things that happen, don't feel well or whatever. So it's not like I live my life like I'm in a Disney movie.
No, but the thing that's
going to 99% aligned,
Yeah, but the thing that's truly going to resonate with someone like that is the backstory. So when they see that you never used to be in certain elements of your journey in your career, and you intervened and you changed it and you modified it over time, it's like a mentor once says to me, he says, it's end game bullshit. He said, that's what he says. He said, people sell too much end game bullshit. It's like, I couldn't teach people how to just do this podcast studio in like a PDF or something. Like I was filming for years trying to figure this. I actually thought podcasting would be easy. It was quite difficult when I started it because I was so used to doing other filming stuff. But it's a process, isn't it? It's a build-up of stuff. I think the problem sometimes is when we sell that end game, panic, that perfectionism. Oh, your life can be awesome. I mean, I'm not saying you're doing that. What I'm saying is it's important for people to understand that there was a process to get here.
Yeah.
We all start on a certain part of the line, but you can speed it up. By borrowing your experience. That's the wisdom, isn't it, of it all?
Yeah, I think I don't know, life's short, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to.
I've just hit 51, and I'm like, I got time to fuck around now.
You've got to be led by your alignment now.
Yeah.
I do think when you're younger, you're much more tolerant. Of like doing stuff that doesn't feel good.
I'm going to argue with you when I'm younger.
But I think it's what do you want to be doing in 5 years, 10 years? And having a plan to get things all in alignment by really getting clear on who you are, who your client is, what the offer is. Just make life easy for yourself.
This speeds it up and makes it easy by it being so simple, isn't it? Yeah.
That's my plan is always, how can I make this easy for people to not only understand, but to implement, and honestly, the ideal client and the above and below process and the connection, it's a couple of hours work. It's not a lifetime of devotion.
How delightful to hear. You're like, hey, it's 72,000 modules over 2 years.
I know. I've got a little program called Business Clarity in a Day, and I always give it to people and say you can do it in an hour. We say day, but it can be done in an hour. And it's the same with this. Once you've done the process, done the ideal client process, then it's a 3-minute a day process.
Which we're going to get to, aren't we? We're going to talk about that. For your doers, I've got a little kind of takeaway here while I shamelessly read it off my notes here. Main takeaway actions is that identify one area in your business where you could balance logic with intuition. So I'll just read that again. Identify one area in your business where you could balance, a key word there, logic with intuition. Do you want to add anything to that?
I think the way to get to the thing, if that makes sense, to identify it, is to draw yourself out, your own bullseye.
Yep.
So self in the middle, then another circle with client, then another circle with offer. And then segment it across and below.
Yep.
And just use that to map out a couple of the things that maybe you're doing, you're thinking, you're feeling, you're saying, and just be like, where are these on the map? And is there anywhere here that really is out of alignment in what I'm saying and doing and how I'm feeling?
Yeah, the ones that sort of stand out, go, don't like that.
The outliers, yeah. Something that feels awful and isn't working.
That's the low-hanging fruit as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the quick and easy. It's like, all right, but that's evidence straight away that this shit works.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And then there's the process to all the other stuff. But it gets started, isn't it? It's a starting point. Great. Okay, I think that's a cool place to wrap up episode number 3 that we've got here, which was where strategy meets spirituality. What can people do next? They can DM you and tell you shit and...
You can DM me and tell me any of your takeaways and any of your light bulb moments. I love a light bulb moment emoji.
A light bulb moment emoji. There you go, everybody. Dear lovely listeners,
light bulb moment emojis are my jam because it means that you've had a little light bulb moment, a little breakthrough, a little realization. If there's one thing, it's just take one thing from every episode. You don't have to take notes and do all the work. I know some of you will want to, but if there's one thing you can take away, just write it down.
Let it simmer. Something will pop up.
Yeah. So self-awareness is key, and also remember, like, it's all okay. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're in the right place at the right time. Don't worry.
Seriously. It's like, chill out.
I've got you. Like, it's all going to be okay. It's just a process we need to go through and a self-awareness journey, if you like. But this isn't about saying anything's right or wrong. It's just an awareness so that
beginning.
we can improve things, incrementally, so that we are moving towards that, utopia of everything feels great and everything's working brilliantly. It's a process to get there.
And it's important to point out that everybody will be at a different part of the track. And so some people are going to be a bit further back, a bit more work to do, and some people are going to be a bit further along and whatnot.
But this is where the client bit comes in, and it really comes into its own, because the client is the make or break in business. Not the offer, client, not the self, to be honest. It's the client, because you can be so aligned with yourself and your offer, but if you've not got the right clients for it, you're in for a world of pain. So that's why that's really crucial.
In the shitville of the quadrant, So I'm going to do some, just to wrap us up here with, I'm going to tell, it's like a teaser. Oh, look at us being all pro. Like a teaser. In the next episode, we are going to be talking about, he says, looking down, aligning with yourself.
Yes.
So that's the next one. So tune in for that one, folks. All right.
See you then.
Good one, Hitch. See you then.
'Cause these are the best